Hello guys, once again it's Matt and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the patrons, make sure to subscribe and let's get into it guys. So, we're going to do some live commentary while we fly the Italian F-16. And I wanted to talk a little bit about and get maybe some discussion going on or something like that on a particular thing. You know, should we get more Eastern aircraft in technically Western countries? And what I mean about that, should these three countries, the UK, Italy, and even a little bit Israel, get Soviet-style aircraft? So, if you don't know, it's been a kind of a talk between here and, I mean, since actually the last patch that it was kind of leaked that they are considering adding the T90S, which is basically an export model that the Indians actually use in the UK tech tree, and basically started a whole talking point about this. Should we get like Russian or Soviet vehicles or any type of these other vehicles in other tech trees, or is it too much of a big deal and it's just too weird? So I wanted to talk a little bit about this and why these three countries. Obviously the UK is one with the Indians. So yeah, we talked about, and basically was leaked as I was saying, with the T90, right? But if they actually add like an Indian sub tree or something like that in the UK tech tree, aircraft such as the MiG-29, MiG-21, stuff like that could be added to the tech tree. It wouldn't be like, I mean, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, but it could be added if they are going to do that at a certain point in the game, right? Italy, of course, we have the Hungarians and the Romanians that can be added also with them, so that we can actually have another country having both Eastern and Western aircraft. And of course, Israel is not technically a Western country, right? I mean, this can be debated, but the thing is that the country is using their own vehicles together with, you know, different styles of modifications of other vehicles and stuff from other nations. But in general, they use a lot of US-made stuff, or generally US modified stuff for their own weapons, right? And they have some like instances that they used, but they didn't actually use, it's just that they tested or something like that a Russian aircraft that they captured. So for example, the MiG-23 MLD, they actually got one or more than one, I don't remember how many, and they actually tested the thing. So maybe it could be a thing. So it's more of a maybe than a for sure thing. But in the UK and the Italian tech tree, I think it's like more probable. And I don't know how I feel about it, because we have 2 points on it. The first one, while we actually attack these F4, we are already getting some kills in this match. This aircraft is very good. But there is 2 points on it. The first one is a very like honest point, to be honest, that these nations actually need something in some, you know, holes in the tech tree. They are lacking in some of the parts of the tech tree, and adding these types of vehicles would actually help them be competitive, you know, especially Italy, I think. And before we get, for example, something like, let me just fire an A9 on it. Before we get something like an Eurofighter Typhoon, and the same goes for the UK, right? It's a tech tree that, especially in tanks, I mean, it doesn't have much to be added, and that's basically what it is, right? And even in aircraft, I mean, after the actual the Eurofighter, there is not much to be added as well, right? So there's an honest point there. But the weirdest thing, and what the actual community would be kind of weird about it, is that what's the point of actually researching even a Eastern tech tree, for example, or if you want to call it like that. Oh my god, I'm gonna crash. Jesus, 6 kills and I crashed by myself. Oh my god. But yeah, basically, what's the point of grinding the other nation if you can just, I don't know, just like get the nation that you want with an F-16 and a MiG, for example. So the Italians over here, for example, if they add like a Hungary, I already did some videos talking even about this, how it would look like, right? The Romanians and the Hungarian sub-3s, for example, here, you would see an aircraft such as the MiG-29 or MiG-23, Soviet tanks, stuff like that. So why would you actually get the other nations? Yes, in the future, the other nations will have a better F-16s, for example, better MiG-29s, whatever, right? But at the same time, you would have basically the best of everything, just a tiny bit less capable. So, for example, the F-16 that they have here, even this F-16 will be able to use the AIM-120. Yes, it will be less powerful than an F-16C or an F-15 or something like that, but it is an F-16 that could carry AIM-120s. The MiG-29s that they can add over here, there are MiG-29s that can, you know, carry the R-27s and stuff. There are modifications to the Romanians that maybe they could use the R-77 or something like that as well. I mean, it's not a, like, even though they would be less competitive than a modern F-16 or a modern MiG-29, they would still be competitive enough to be right there in the mix. And at the end of the day, they would even have the Eurofighter. So the Italian tech tree, for example, if it actually gets that, it would have not only the best of both worlds right now, but one of the best aircraft in the future as well, with the Eurofighter and even the F-35, if I'm not mistaken, later as well. So kind of weird, right? So that's the argument there, that there is no like reason for you to actually introduce these like that. I think the solution is something maybe similar to what the Swedish have. Not that the Swedish don't have, I mean, the Finnish don't have a lot of things to be added beyond this, that is Eastern, right? But what they did with the sub-tree of the Finnish, or the Swedish tech tree with Finland, it kind of makes sense. Adding the MiG-21 bis, it's an aircraft that, yes, you have other aircraft that are like these, or these exact same aircraft in other tech trees, but it is not the top dog anymore, right? So it's okay to be added right now, because it doesn't really matter too much. And that's where I think it's the big problem. People tend to focus too much on top tier when this type of thing happens. So if you see Italy receiving a MiG-29 right now and having an F-16 at the same time, it would make, I mean, it would be weird. It would be just, well, it doesn't make much sense. But if the MiG-29 that we have right now and the F-16 that we have right now become obsolete, and the Soviets, the Germans, the US, every single other nation have Eurofighters and F-16Cs and MiG-35s and Su-27s and, you know, whatever you want. Oh, sorry, whatever you want to add that there, you know, it would probably be not a big deal. So I think that's the solution. I think, yes, these countries might deserve to have these type of aircraft, this type of tank, or even whatever they want to add, but they need to be timed correctly so that people don't feel like there's no reason to actually research the other trees, together with a reason to actually research these trees as well. Because if they don't do anything, maybe, I mean, yes, a Tornado F3 is an interesting aircraft, but, and it's very unique, it's still lacking. So we need kind of a mix between that, and adding it later might be a little bit of a suffering for some of these nations, especially the UK, but in the eventuality, I mean, eventually it will get better, right? And remember, these nations will receive the Eurofighter as well. Both of these nations, especially the Israelis, will also receive something like the F-15 and stuff. So it's not a big deal to actually wait a little bit, in my opinion. I always said this, that although I understand the F-16AJ being added to the game, I still think that having patience and just waiting for an F-15 to be added, it would make more sense, especially because early F-15s wouldn't be too big of a jump from what we currently have, right? It would be kind of in the same general performance with a little bit better of a radar, a little bit better of a performance, but in the same ballpark, so it wouldn't be too OP. So adding the first ones would be okay. So maybe having patience a little bit and not just adding it because of adding it, because if they do this all the time, we will see a lot of these F-16AJs being added, and I really don't want that. So a compromise between the community and the devs, I think, it goes a long way, right? But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments what you think about this. Do you agree or disagree that the UK, the Italians, and maybe even the Israelis, or in general other nations should receive tanks and aircraft that are from the Soviet Union or some form of stuff like that, right? Even China maybe or something like that. Let me know in the comments, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye guys, see you.